We are ready to roll here on a Saturday of Week 6 of UHL between Rod Johnson and Jordan Lingo. It's going to be a fun one. Happy Saturday to everybody that's watching United Hearthstone League. My name is Brasky. I am joined by the one and only Steffi. We're both, of course, this will go gaming, and it's going to be a fun match tonight, or today, wherever people are in the world. It's currently the afternoon at this point. Steffi, I'm going to hold on to you for just 1 second before I do this Every time I do this, I forget to unmute the person that I'm casting with because I am the only one that can be talking. Are you there?
I am here. How are you doing, Brasky?
Yes, I'm doing fantastic now that I actually have a co-caster that can speak to me. And I'm doing fantastic because we have Rod Johnston up against Jordan Lingo. So we have a Tier 5 versus the Daring Reporter. Memes versus perhaps not so memes. It depends on what the deck list these guys are bringing. What do we know about this matchup that's coming up right now?
So we know that Rod Johnston is going to be bringing Paladin, Shaman, and Druid. Those are the three classes that he has left, while Jordan Lingo is going to be bringing Priest, Hunter, and Warrior. So we do hear some classes that are pretty top tier right now, but knowing both of these players, I think they're going to be bringing more fun and flavor than maybe necessarily your tier 1 deck. So as you guys know, the format of this league, or if you don't know, well, it's a little unique. Each week, a player brings 3 classes. It's still Conquest best of 5, but there's no bans. So once they're done the first week with 3 classes, they can no longer bring them. And then each week, they need to bring 3 different classes. So these are the 3 that both gentlemen are left with. And I'm excited to see what fun and creativity they brought.
Absolutely. So, as Steffi said, it is week 6, which means we are at the last week of this kind of second cycle of deck choices. So these 3 classes are all that were left from these players. They basically either wanted to save the best for last or they didn't want to touch them with a 10-foot pole. So Rod Johnston bringing Druid, Paladin, and Shaman, while Jordan Lingo bringing Hunter, Priest, and Warrior. A lot has been said about the current state of the meta, and I, for one, think it's rather enjoyable because you can make 1, 2, 3 decks out of every single class, be it super competitive or memes that can actually win. I think that's what we have on tap for today.
I think so too. I was glancing at some of the decks that these 2 lovely gentlemen are bringing, and I don't want to give anything away because we don't spoil fun here.
No.
But there is some fun to be had today, to say the least.
Absolutely. And so we're going to be getting into the match here in just a moment, but it's important also to note that I think anyone who is watching right now who has no skin in the game for this, I think might be rooting for Jordan Lingo because last time I checked, he is 0-5 in matches so far. He has had a couple of close 2-3s, but he has not gotten off the schneid and snagged his first win in UHL. So I know perhaps everyone's heartstrings go out to Jordan Lingo, hoping that he can secure his first win.
Yes, it would be a good feeling to get that one in. It always feels good to win.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to get these players started here with game number 1. Steffi's going to give them the go-ahead, and once they do, we will get into this match. Of course, we want to remind everybody that you're watching this at twitch.tv/UnitedHearthstoneLeague, and of course, you can find out more about the league at UnitedHearthstoneLeague.com, or find them on Twitter at UnitedHSLeague on Twitter, which is always a wonderful place to watch as well. I'm going to get my sound online so we can make sure we hear these competitors. There we go. And so, Rod Johnston, we're going to start off here in game number 1. Rod Johnston will be at the bottom of your screen, and Jordan Lingo will be at the top, and we will get into game number 1.
Ooh, Shaman versus Hunter. Let's go.
Let's go indeed. Shaman versus Hunter. Right away, Rod Johnston, we see Hemet the Jungle Hunter and Hagatha the Witch, leading us to believe that this is some type of Shutterwalk deck that he's leading with. The big question is whether or not he's going to roll with the Keleseth version. That's the only thing he has on 2-drop, or if he's going to go more of the Elemental kind of mid-range version as well. I'm looking at the Hunter cards here for green speed for, of course, Jordan Lingo. And Houndmaster Shaw, a golden Houndmaster Shaw in hand, along with Dire Mole, Flanking Strike. We might have a good old-fashioned mid-range Hunter on our hands.
Oh my goodness, I feel like we do. He's bringing me back.
The throwback days for Jordan Lingo as he drops the Dire Mole on turn number 1 Rod Johnston, he's just going to bide his time. He doesn't have much to do until turn 4, but that's okay. He's really just going to lay back. He's got to find the pieces of his combo, and he's got plenty of them in hand right now. He's got the Serenite Chain Gang that's going to double up the Shutterwalk. He's got Life Drinker, which is going to deal some damage and heal himself. Zola the Gorgon, of course, is going to copy any Shutterwalks that he wants to. He already, I mean, without the fact that he has Zola means that he doesn't necessarily need to find Grumble at this point, so he's already got a good amount of the combo pieces in place.
Yeah, he has a lot of the components in his hand, so I'm sure that he's feeling quite comfortable. Really, it's just keeping your health level above a certain point and surviving is really what he's concerned with at this time. But Jordan Lingo does have some good tempo pieces in his hand as well, so it's going to be interesting to see how he utilizes these resources to stay on top of things.
So right away, you know, we see Jordan Lingo, he's kind of biding his time as well. He doesn't have the best plays that he wants to make right now. He had the Animal Companion that was immediately answered by the Lightning Bolt. Acolyte of Pain, a great card to play right here, especially when there's not a lot of ways to deal with it early on from your opponent's side of things. And so we might see the Houndmaster Shaw come down here from Jordan Lingo, and I like the move. He's basically saying, you know, he's going to try and bait out a Hex here, but if there's no way for Rod Johnston to deal with this Houndmaster Shaw, and right away we look, there isn't a great way to deal with it, then he can start snowballing a lot of his minions, including, let's not forget about something like a Scavenging Hyena with Echo that you can go into turn 5.
Yes, that's quite clever. I do see him hovering over the flanking strike, so he might just be really scared of the card draw and just remove it ultimately from Rod Johnson, which we are seeing him do at this time.
And there's the Shutterwalk, so almost all of the pieces right now for Rod Johnson are in hand. Basically, all he needs at this point is to find Grumble, and even then he can just use Zola and hopefully, you know, basically copy everything back that he wants to. He has to make sure that Shutterwalk goes onto an open board with nothing else on it, but a lot of the possibilities are there for him, and if he doesn't have what he needs by turn 6, then Hemet the Jungle Hunter is going to make a short work of the rest of this deck.
Yeah, his hand is beautiful. I mean, if I was in his position, I would be very happy to see all these cards in my hand. Like, it's just basically just sitting there for you. It's ready to go.
I totally agree. And so Jordan Lingo, now here's the thing. He's sitting there and, oh my goodness, that is Dinomancy. No need to hit your opponent in the face when you give other beasts +2/+2. My goodness.
Do it for you.
The last time I saw a Dinomancy Hunter was months ago. I was like, I'm going to give this deck a shot. I was sitting in an airport waiting, and like my flight was delayed, and I'm like, well, what do I do while my flight is delayed? I can't play anything super serious. I bust out Dinomancy Hunter. Next thing I know, I'm 10-2. I'm feeling good about myself. I've created a new meta, and that is what we see from Jordan Lingo, the new Dinomancy Hunter meta to go up against the Shutterwalks. I love everything about this.
Yeah, that's quite funny. I'm not going to lie. I don't think I've ever played that card before in my life.
Nope.
So I'm excited to see it in action.
So now Greenspeed looks like he's going to drop down the Houndmaster Shaw right now, giving all of his minions Rush, which is going to be great when you can start, you know, putting the Dinomancy down on other minions. And as we look right now, Sandbinder sitting in hand as well. There's not a lot of ways to deal with this Houndmaster Shaw, much less trying to find something like maybe a Farsight into some type of removal.
Or it looks like, you know what? He's just going to go with Hemet. Clear out that deck. You know, he's ready to go. He's feeling pretty confident with his hand in the moment.
But
we might just see the Houndmaster do some work. Top decking that Hex, though, is beautiful.
That's a great pickup right there. Of course, dropping the Hemet down increases your chances now that you've killed off any card that costs 3 or less. So only cards that cost 4 or higher are now in the hand for Rod Johnston. Cave Hydra, that also damages minions next to whomever it attacks. Add +2/+2 on top of this. You're going to have essentially a really awesome board clear. It's basically like the Hunter hero power sitting down there. And he's even going to have a chance to drop Scavenging Hyena, kill off Hemet with a 6/2, and now the pressure all of a sudden is on from Jordan Lingo, and Rod Johnson needs to find the answers before turn 9.
Yeah, that play there. I'm kind of impressed with that. That was a very, like, the Cave Hydra, again, not a card you actively see in play, but it definitely put in some work and was able to make a nice little board clear almost. That was very impressive on Jordan's half.
Yeah, I love that move right there. We can start to see the synergies of this deck. This might not be your standard deck that is super competitive on ladder, but already you see Greenspeed knew that he could, if he could get a couple of minions to stick for at least one turn, then he'd be able to do some fun things. Dire Frenzy now comes out.
Speaking of fun things,
Good
Dire
Lord.
Frenzy. That is a fun card if I've ever seen one.
Absolutely. Give a beast +3/+3, then shuffle three copies into your hand that costs cuppies, big cuppies. It's like guppies, but cuppies, the things that you play in your deck. So Dire Frenzy is certainly a possibility here. He even has the chance to maybe go Vicious Scale, hide Dire Frenzy on top of that. Of course, he's just got some burst damage with Kill Command. There's a lot of options here. Doesn't have lethal yet, but you got to think he wants to end this within a turn or two.
Yeah, so I can definitely see why he's thinking about holding onto that Kill Command to do some burst damage. Yeah, I don't hate doing the Vicious Scale Hide into the Dire Frenzy onto it just to kind of get some health. But, you know, or we can do it this way too, yeah, and like buff something else. Maybe we'll get some Dire Moles buffed.
Yeah, heal yourself up a little bit and see what's going on, but the key component here is that now he's left with a lot of 2 health minions besides the 4/6 Cave Hydra. So Hagatha is going to make short work of this board, and it's going to gain 5 armor, and then everything that Rod Johnston will play after that will be different. But instead of completely clearing off most of the board, he wants to go for a complete board clear, get the Life Drinker in line, because at the same time you can delay the minions, but you also want to get your combo on board.
Yeah, I like that very well. That Volcano was a very good top deck to kind of clean up the mess of Jordan's board. So I can definitely appreciate that. I guess we're going to see a Scale Hide, and maybe we're going to adapt it. Yeah. Let's see what we get.
You adapt it right away, +3 attack health. You can summon some plants if you want to. I like the move on just getting some attack in line, buffing your minions even more, but again, left at 2 health on both sides of things. So now there's almost no reason, unless you want to go for another Serenite, but it just seems like the Overload works out well. You have 8 mana. Here come the Dark Spirits of Hagatha the Witch, going to clear off the board, gain some armor, and then every minion afterwards is going to start generating some spells.
Yeah, I really like that play a lot. Just kind of clear the board and start utilizing this hero power. His hand is basically all minions, and he doesn't have really any more cards left in his deck, so why not just add a few more resources to his hand if he can?
Of course, it doesn't matter when you have a lot of damage like that staring you down at the face. Volcano, a fantastic pickup that's going to be able to clear off this board if he wants to do it. Instead, he's going to put up some taunts. He's going to generate a lightning bolt, which is great if he had, maybe bounce back a Wrath of Air Totem to get some spell damage. Instead, he's going to throw out some taunts. He's going to drop Zola the Gorgon, possibly. He's also looking at the possibility of dropping Sandbinder, and there's Grumble.
There's the Grumble.
You always think when you drop Sandbinder, it's only going to generate like a 1 or 2 cost minion, but that's the glory of Hemet the Jungle Hunter. The lowest cost minion in Rod's deck right now is 6 mana, and it's Grumble. He's got to start thinking, though. He's down to 1 card. He's got all of the pieces of the combo that he needs. He needs to make sure that he plays them out and gives himself enough time to close the game out.
Yeah, exactly. So, unfortunately, drawing the Dinomancy was definitely not what Jordan wanted to see here. Kind of was like a dead card, but it's cute how he's utilizing it. He kind of just gets to get another freebie hero power, if you will, almost just refreshing. And Rod Johnson's now out of cards, but I don't think he's feeling too nervous about it because he has everything that he can do with this board at this moment is really what's going to matter.
Absolutely. So he's going to hit with the 2/4. Here comes Grumble. What is pretty much the last piece of the combo, unless he wanted to drop Zola the Gorgon on it. But instead, we aren't going to get cheesy with the Gorgonzola. We're going to sit back a 7 attack minion, of course, sitting there. Let's count the damage right now. Add 2 onto it. That's 9. Add 5. That is going to be 14. Add 1 more with an Unleash the Hounds. Or you can even drop Dire Frenzy. There's plenty of damage to be had right here. How much damage in total?
So he has 5, 12. If he wants to add that, 16. So he has the most, it looks like 17 damage. So not quite what he needs for lethal.
Not quite. A little bit of an ordering thing right there. I guess he could have done Dinomancy on top of the Hound and then put the Dire Frenzy to get even more buffs for the chance to get super insane charge value out of this. Instead, he's going to set his opponent to 8. His opponent's going to take 1 for fatigue, and I think it's about time for that Shudderwalk to make an appearance.
Yes, it's time to Shudderwalk in this location.
Alright, so we see the copies come down. The Grumble's going to come later. He's going to be able to play another one after this, gain a lot more health, start dealing the damage to his opponent. There's plenty of damage sitting there for Greenspeed, but it's going to be quickly cleared off after the Hagatha. There it goes right there. I think the game is all set in stone right now. The combo is set. We get to sit back and just listen to this crazy inane creature just say its name over and over and over and over and over again.
Yes. Shutterwalk is a very big fan of himself, I will say. See, I don't know if this healing is going to be enough. It might get him one more turn, but in reality, it's looking pretty grim for Jordan.
Yeah, I don't think there's much way to fatigue your opponent when they're going to just constantly be healing every turn after that. Now, the only thing I can think of right now for Rod Johnston is if something of the nature of if somehow the combo were interrupted because of hand size, because he's playing two minions at one spot, he gets too many spells into his hand, he could lose the combo that way, but it just seems like all of the damage is going to go to green speed. He's down to 9. I don't think there's any way out of this, and Rod Johnston's going to take game number 1.
Yeah, I agree. He unfortunately experienced the wrath.
No one can hear us over the fact that just all of this just mishigas of Shutterwalk that's going on right now.
Right? Everybody's
experienced this. Well fought. He finally concedes after he was basically going to die anyway. Game number 1 goes to Rod Johnston to tier 5. Well, you know, Rod, a little bit of the spiciness with the Hemet, but even then, it's something that is seen a lot on ladder anyway. That was a pretty straightforward Shaman deck from Rod Johnston. On the other side of things, Jordan Lingo down 0-1, but I really liked what he was trying to do with that Hunter deck.
Yeah, I think I was very creative. I like Beast synergy in general, so I liked the concept of it. And he seemed for the most part to be utilizing his resources, you know, the things he felt to include in the deck pretty well. Like he was trying to be smart, like when to use the kill command, for example. He was trying to be mindful of how is he going to win this game, what does he need to do. But unfortunately, you know, Shutterwalk is one of the top tier decks for a reason, and it just did its thing.
It did its thing, and he was able to find his combo relatively quickly. Even without the Hemet, he had a lot of pieces in place right there. And of course, we have a lot of pieces in place to bring you these awesome streams for UHL, which is going to be fantastic. One of the ways in which we can do that is because of our supporters. How can you be a supporter? Well, you can follow the stream on Twitch. You can join the Discord for the United Hearthstone League, which you can find at UnitedHearthstoneLeague.com. And if you feel like shelling out $1 or $2 to help the stream progress and become something even better, you can go to patreon.com/UnitedHSLeague. It's the link right above me over in that corner right over there. Of course, we'd like to thank a couple of our patrons who help support the channel. Of course, I'm speaking of Run and Zoroshio. Thank you so very much for your contribution. It means the world to us, and it would mean the world to everybody in UHL if you wanted to support it in any which way you choose. One of the best ways to support it as well is check out all of the awesome content creators that are below me in this wonderful little overlay that's down here. You got Coin Concede, 1600 Dust, Blizzlit, Valen's Chosen, Tier 5, The Clock. You have so many wonderful content creators. I have had some of the best times I've had playing Hearthstone, just casting for this league and meeting new people. It's been a wonderful community so far.
I agree. The environment in which UHL is built off of is just so friendly and supportive. It's definitely a great place to be. So we really appreciate all the support that you can give in which any way you can. It doesn't go overlooked.
If you just won the lottery, you know, follow us on Twitter. Do any of those things that you want to do. That would be great for us. What's going to be great for us as well is getting into game number 2, as Steffi is going to give the players the heads up. So we've seen right away the Hunter. It's kind of a mid-range combo-y Hunter-style deck. Does he stick with it, or does he go for something different?
I think he might go for something different. I know Jordan, and I know he likes to kind of showcase his decks. So he might feel like, you know, being sassy and bringing something else. So we're already going into the game, and it seems like he did. He switched up to his Priest deck.
And a Priest
deck,
which
I already see a Hydra, so this is going to be good.
A Priest deck with a Hydra, but more importantly, a really solid curve of going Northshire Cleric into Radiant Elemental into Shadow Visions after that if he wants to. That's a great curve out right there. And of course, right away, we know exactly, we don't have to guess what druid this is. King Togwaggle, Azalina Soul Thief, naturalized, straight up druid.
Oh my gosh, this is gonna be fun. I've never played Mildred before, but I've seen a couple games of it, and it does look like a good time. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like you can get, I don't know, I really don't know how exactly you go off, but I'm just excited to see what happens.
looking at what is in hand right now for Jordan Lingo, he's going to drop the Power Word Shield, going to buff up his Northshire Cleric, do some card draw first, then do Shadow Visions. He's got Mind Blast, Shadow Word, Pain, Holy Fire. He also has Shadow Form in hand on top of it. So this is, I mean, dare I say it, this is Aggro Priest.
This is Aggro Priest.
This is some type of priest. It is a Shadow Form mid-range clockwork automaton, which doubles the damage of your healing the damage and healing of your hero power. So he wants to buff up his hero power. He basically wants to kind of, maybe he goes Machine Gun Priest, maybe he goes something else, but he wants to start putting some damage down, eventually go Shadow Form and try to close the game out before Rod Johnston can burn through his deck.
Yeah, he does. I see. Rasky, we knew we were going to get a show today. And we were telling the people that you were going to get a show today. We were not lying.
No, we were not.
Show today.
Are you not entertained, people? There's a Shadow Form Priest above you right now. There is a Mill Druid with King Togwaggle sitting as well. And so Jordan Lingo, he's going to start drawing through some pieces. Look at this. He's even got Leroy Jenkins. So I'm flabbergasted. I'm simply flabbergasted by what I'm seeing.
I told you, I showed up for the party, okay? We're just having a good time. I just want to continue to see what's in their decks. I mean, I could just go and look, but I'm having a lot more fun just experiencing it in the moment with everybody else.
I'm in complete agreement with you. Rod Johnston, of course, he's done his part that he's ramped up a decent amount. Now he needs to start finding the card draw so he can start burning through his deck. He used the Nourish there for mana instead of card draw, which I'm not exactly sure about. You're going up against a priest that you would normally think is going to be slow. We're going to learn that it's not a very slow deck in the least soon, but instead there's going to be some damage coming from green speed. Rod needs to start finding some card draw, otherwise he could run into a little bit of an issue.
Yes, he did ramp, which is great. That's what you want. But now he's lacking in the cycling. So he's just kind of here relying on his next few pickups. Because he has good cards in his hand, but they just really aren't doing anything right now. While we see Jordan's hand is quite the opposite. He has a lot of resources and cards that could just potentially start doing some damage and start, making a dent in this game.
It's true. A lot of dents can be happening. There's a lot of ways that you can dent your opponent's face. A Bittertide Hydra is a great way to start putting some pressure on, but he also has the ability to do some other things. Elixir of Hope is a nice card to play. He can play on curve, going Tar Creeper into Elixir on either of his two minions. There's decent value out of that. Is that enough to put the pressure on his opponent, or does he want to go with the big 8/8?
I feel like with the taunts, he's probably hesitant to go with the Hydra, maybe thinking I'm not able to get through. So I'm more inclined to see the creep into the Elixir of Hope play. Or we're just going to see more drawing as well. Again, I don't hate that. I'm sure there's a lot more fun to be had with this deck, and there's more resources that he wants to grab.
Spellbreaker is a decent card that's going to get through some of these taunts, disable it down. Wild Growth, now sitting at turn 8. He could play Wild... If he had UI in hand, he could go Wild Growth into UI, but he's not. He probably will hold on to this Wild Growth, knowing that it can eventually be card draw in 2 turns.
Yeah, I agree with that play. It's probably smarter at this point just to hold on to it, because your hand, it's just not doing anything right now. And you could really use more of your deck. But again, I wonder if he has any idea of what Jordan is playing. I feel like if I was in Rod's position, I would still have no idea.
I would think it's a combo deck.
Like you do see. Yeah, exactly. Because you're seeing the Creeper. You're seeing some unique kind of like...
We got some internet issues with Steffi real quick while we take we're going to take care of some internet issues with Steffi before we get all... Before she goes robot voiced on us for a second. But she was absolutely correct in asserting the fact that high health minions, this does not look like the priest that we see. Rod Johnston has no idea what this priest is doing, and I kind of love what Jordan Lingo is doing as well, just sitting back on his laurels. He has not revealed exactly what he's doing yet, but turn 7 is here, and he might do it here, Steffi.
Am I still a robot?
You are no longer a robot. You are now a real human.
Oh my goodness, thank goodness. Yeah, I'm interested to see. I feel now I'd be feeling pretty safe to play the Hydra, but that's just me. I'm a little aggressive, okay? I would feel comfortable.
Some people find Steffi intimidating because she plays Shadow Form in her priest, but some men just can't deal with that kind of crap.
Look, it's not for everybody, okay?
It's not for everybody. Shadow Visions is for everybody, and another Mind Blast in the hand. So already, not a lot of minion pressure on board, but there's certainly going to be some burst damage coming from this priest.
Yes. We do see the UI though, which is very nice on Rod's end. Every Druid player is happy to see that, no matter what build of the deck you are playing.
He even goes with the wild growth from 9 into 10. That might be telling if you're Jordan Lingo. You might know exactly now what your opponent has. If they empty out their hand with a wild growth on turn 9, you got a feeling that the UI is going to be coming down pretty soon.
Yes, you're ready to see that at this point. And now fun is to be had. We are starting to go
and
you're seeing it, everybody.
Absolutely. A bunch of pressure comes down. That was huge. It was important to see where this buff was going to go. It goes onto the Northshire Cleric. So instead, he has to drop the Ultimate Infestation down on the Radiant Elemental. It's going to go back into the hand for Jordan Linko. And looking at what we've seen from Rod Johnston, I don't think there's any Arcane Tyrants, so he can't just drop a 4/4 after throwing that out there. But instead, Mind Spike is going to go at this 3/5. He's then going to Shadow Form again, and now deals 3 damage with his hero power.
Wow.
This is outstanding. Steffi, what is happening? What is going on?
Look, priests are done with healing, okay? That is the past now. He doesn't need Anduin to deal 2. He doesn't need Anduin to deal 3. He just came to play, Mr. Jordan. Rod here is probably feeling very confused at this point and just wants to start digging away at these minions. He notices that, there's a lot of pressure to be had at this point, so he needs to start dealing with Jordan's board to kind of get back into the game, which he does beautifully with double swipe. I mean, you can't get mad at double swipe when you draw it.
It's important to note, I think, as well, the specific types of ways you can combo with this Druid deck with the Togwaggle. You can obviously use both naturalizers. If your opponent has 6 cards in hand, you can do a different version where you can basically go naturalize if there's 2 minions on board, Togwaggle, and take their deck, and they're done with. Of course, there's the other side, which is you need to use the Twig of the World Tree and then get it down to 1, then, play the combo, break the Twig, throw Azalina down, take the ransom back from your opponent. I don't think Rod has time for that. Instead, he needs to be on the back foot and find a way to deal with these minions, and Naturalize might have to come down right now.
Yeah, that 8/8 is looking pretty scary. We've seen the Twig finally going into play, so we're going to start getting that off, start taking down those hits. And we do see the Naturalize. He also agreed with the fact that Hydra can still be a very scary card, no matter what class you see it in.
Another Mind Blast into hand for Jordan Lingo. He's got 15 burst damage with 6 mana if he wants to. And of course, he can drop 6 damage more when he drops down the Clockwork Automaton, which is going to double the damage and healing of your hero power.
That is very fun. I don't think I've ever seen this card before other than opening packs. And in this concept, that's pretty cute. 6 damage for 2 mana. Don't mind if I do. And it's a continuous effect. It's not even a battle cry. So if you're Rod, you don't want to keep this minion on board because that's 6 damage.
I totally agree that, damage to face is of the best things that you need right now. Even this Leroy Jenkins could come and take care of this 3/6, and then you have another 10 damage to face after that. You could have 10 more damage comboing in with the Mind Blast. He's going to naturalize this minion. He's going to naturalize a Clockwork Automaton, knowing that I'm in a bad way right now. So you already see Rod Johnston. He's now cleared off most of the big, heavy threats of his opponent. He is continually going through and trying to break the Twig off. He's got 2 more turns or 3 more turns before he can do that. And there's a burn right there with the Power Word Shield. Not a big issue there because you still have plenty of burst damage in hand.
Yeah, his hand is literally just straight up damage. We're going to see Temporis come down to play. That's a very bold move, in my opinion. But I guess now more than ever with the Twigs, it technically still has 3 hits, so maybe you're not feeling too intimidated quite yet. You can give your opponent those 2 turns. I'm interested to see how Rod uses these 2 turns. Because I feel like he needs to use them well, or else he might just be dead.
I'm interested in the fact that Jordan Lingo put Temporis into his deck, and it wasn't on accident. He just drops, and it's brilliant. You are absolutely correct. It's brilliant that he drops it down while the weapon has 3 charges to it, so he's not going to be able to break this Twig right now. He can get through most of his deck if he wants to, but he's not going to engage the combo. In the meanwhile, Greenspeed, Jordan Lingo, hopefully he has added up the damage and realizes that I think I can burst down my opponent even with something like 30 with 29 health sitting on my opponent's side. He might be able to burst this down.
Yeah, but we also do see in Rod's hand, he has 2 branching paths. That is potentially 24 health if he chooses to gain 6 armor for both. So, I don't know. This is going to still be kind of tough for Jordan. And we're going to be seeing a lot of armor built up these next 2 turns. But who knows, man? Who knows how this is going to go?
Almost out of cards.
Next up, the trade of Temporus with the Poisonous Minion. Branching Path's going to come out, and there's the armor that Steffi was talking about. He's going to start gaining a bunch of health. He's going to start living his best life. While he has 1 card left in his deck, he's going to be able to break this twig off, have the perfect timing of losing all the cards in your deck, breaking the twig off, having all of your combo pieces. Everything's in line for Rod right now, and so now it's a matter, can Greenspeed, he thought he had a lot of burst damage, but I don't know if he had enough to deal with, what is that? That's 61 health right now?
That is so much health. Yeah, I don't know. He's running another one of the, oh my gosh, the mech guys. Again, the card that I don't even
Clockwork
know
Automatons.
That guy, yes, him. If he's running another, I'm going to go peek. I need to know. I need to see. Are we trying to top deck this card? Because that might be his only out. He's only running 1. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he gets this damage in. But he's going for it. He is no quitter.
So there's a decent amount of damage. He's got 10 plus 13 plus some Mind Blast going to the face as well. He needs to get as much damage as he can. He even top-decked another Mind Blast, so there is 20 damage extra coming this turn, and it's still not enough to take out this Druid.
No, with the hero power, that is 26 damage. And you would think, hearing that, oh, well, you win. Not against over 50 armor against a Druid. He now just has Rod at 20.
26 damage this turn. Add on the damage he did last turn. That would be enough to kill any type of deck normally. But instead, he ran into things like, well, a mill Druid that has as many branching paths as it wanted to. So there's the switch out. There's the hit on top of it. Of course, he doesn't have the naturalizes to, to fatigue his opponent, but he has enough to kind of steal his opponent's deck, or take everything that he wants from it and say, all right, your turn. Now the Azalina Soul Thief comes down, takes the ransom from his opponent, and also gains a bunch of Holy Fires. Now he has the burn deck.
Yeah. Now he has the burn deck. You said it very well. Yeah, I don't... Unfortunately for Jordan, I'm not really sure. He's going to use the Holy Fires to kind of get some health back up to keep him alive 1 more turn. But even with that, I'm not sure if it's enough with fatigue. We have 5. Yeah. I think he just did the math. And if you notice, it's still not enough. Woo!
Well, he did the math. There was a lot of math to be done in terms of counting health for people. And, when people asked me to do UHL casting, I specifically asked Ferris Biscuit. I was told there would be no math.
That's why I'm here. It's okay. I'll
Thank
help
you.
you with the math.
Thank you for helping me to count. And I can at least count to 2. And that is 2 match victories for Rod Johnson over Jordan Lingo right now. He is up 2-0 with, meta decks, but they're fun meta decks. They're the combo-y decks like the Shutterwalk, and we saw things like that Mill Druid that we saw with King Togwaggle. So this Paladin, methinks this is not going to be an odd Paladin. I think, I've had a chance to look at some of the decks that these opponents are bringing and what I've seen in weeks and years past of UHL, of the lore of behind. And I'm going to say that this Paladin is going to be a quest control Paladin. Something with ring the bells that's going to have that echo spell that goes on top of different minions, things left and right. The big question is, will Jordan Lingo showcase for the people his warrior deck?
I think he will. Knowing Jordan and just being able to cast for him in the past and seeing how he plays, he likes to put on a show. So I think he likes to showcase the creativity in which he puts into his decks, which I know all of us can appreciate. Do you think it's time to let him know to get it rolling?
I think it's time to get it rolling. I don't think this is the last cast that we have for week 6. So every other match that's been on the streams has been cast so far. We don't need to go through any of the other calendar besides keep an eye out for stuff that's going to happen in week 7. I say let's jump right into it. Let's get to game number 3. Let's see if this is going to be a complete sweep by Rod Johnson or if Jordan Lingo can get off the schneid in the most epic of ways with a reverse sweep for his first win. I am excited to find out. How about you?
I'm very excited. Reverse sweeps feel so good too. I know we've all
well
been
for
there.
one person.
That's true. If you're the one doing the reverse sweeping, it is such a beautiful feeling because you think it's all over and you're like, it's done for. And then it's like, just kidding, I'm here.
I'm the one getting swept left and right. I'm like a chimney when it comes to Hearthstone. People just be sweeping me left and right.
We all know that's not true.
The one thing I do know is true is that it's going to be Paladin versus the Warrior of Jordan Lingo. He's going to line up that Warrior deck for us. Last Kaleidosaur, Consecration, Youthful Brewmaster. Youthful Brewmaster leads me to believe this might be, just a straight-up OTK deck, but the Last Kaleidosaur, and there's Sound the Bells. We do have a complete Quest Control OTK Paladin. That's a lot of words and a lot of letters to go in with one deck.
That is a lot of things that are occurring. Also, Jordan's hand, we still don't know what this could be. With these cards, it could be Recruit, it could be Dead Man's Hand. Who knows?
Yeah.
Another Bring It On. Yeah, so I feel like, where it's not quite clear what he has, but...
We know it's not aggro.
You know what? That's true. Very well said.
Pro casting right there, folks. Top-notch casting. Let me look, see. Okay, he's only got one minion. He's got all spells. He gains armor. I don't think he's aggro.
I think I'm going to say it's a controlled deck.
I'm going to say it's a controlled deck. I offer a master class on Tuesdays of how to analyze whether or not your opponent is aggro.
Do their cards go face? No, then no.
Did they armor up on 2? Are they a warrior? Yes. Gnomish Inventor comes down now, so Rod Johnson right away, a lot of card draw for a control paladin. He obviously wants to find very specific spells so that he can get his quest online, find any and every way to get his OTK on board if he needs to. I love this Paladin deck, even though it's not seen a lot on ladder, because it is very flexible in terms of identifying your win condition. Whether it be, throwing Galvadon on there, the Last Kaleidosaur, maybe Lanessa is just enough to close a game out. You can also try to find ways to OTK your opponent. It's got a lot of flexibility, but it doesn't yet have all the tools to be a tier 1 or even tier 2 or even tier 3 deck.
It's true, but it's still, like you said it very well, it's still a fun deck to play, and I can respect decks that don't just rely on one win condition necessarily, because if you lose that, then, it's kind of game over. But I like flexible decks where you can go different routes depending on what you're playing against.
Bloodmage Stalnos now in the hand for Rod Johnston. It might be all he needs to do just because he just wants to keep drawing through his deck, finding the pieces that he wants. I don't think he's even buffed any of his quest yet. He hasn't, notched any ticks off of there buffing other minions, so that Lanessa is obviously not going to come down on turn 7, unless he really wants to meme us. How ultimate would that be if Rod Johnson dropped down a 7-mana 1/1 and said, well played?
Fight me. Take my legendary 1/1.
Fight me, bro. Here's my 7-mana 1/1.
It's like, patches, but expensive.
I like the move by Jordan here, dropping down the Triwhisker armor because, in a lot of ways, you don't know how many... You get a sense your opponent's playing control, so they might not have a lot of minions on board. Just get a few armor ticks out of it, get, minion on your side, maybe develop a little bit of pressure, but... Lesser Mithril Spellstone now into the hand for Jordan Lingo, and yet I haven't seen much of any weapon besides that one, the one 4-mana weapon for the Warrior. I wonder how many other weapons he has in his deck.
Yeah, we've only seen the Blood Razor so far. Maybe he is running Fiery War Axe. Let's see, what else is there? There's our, 7-mana weapon, which I like.
There's Gore Howl, there's Fiery War Axe, Blood Razor, Woe Cleaver. There's Molten Blade, which will turn into any... It's basically the Shifter Xeris of weapons on top of it. But yet we've only seen one weapon so far, and that's been a lot of different minions coming out for Jordan Lingo. He's going to drop down the Acolyte of Pain. He's going to throw out the Gluttonous Ooze, destroying his opponent's weapon, leaving him, of course, now with a decent hand, a decent amount of cards. He wants to start drawing as well to find his pieces. I'm not exactly sure if this is just a straight-up fatigue deck from Jordan Lingo yet, or if he actually has some other win condition.
Yeah, we do see one of the Dead Man's Hand already in his hand, so I could definitely foresee this deck being more of the fatigue style, which I don't know if that's going to be in his benefit based off what he's playing against with the Quest, and playing against the Quest Pally, but I'm interested to see how this goes. I wonder if he runs the full combo. I'm going to go take another little sneak peek.
Sneak a peek on them.
I'm going to go sneak a peek and see if Uther is being played.
So Rod's got some options for him coming up on turn number 9. He can go Spike Ridge Steed to continue to give value to Lanessa. He can finish his quest off with Sound the Bells if he wanted to. Instead, Warpath going to come out for Jordan Lingo. So he's going to draw as many cards as he can out of this Acolyte of Pain, just so he can kind of get whatever pieces he needs. You get the sense that he might be emptying his hand to find the best dead man's hand that he wants. That's kind of the key with this type of deck. You want to limit your hand to just the essentials so that you can remove your opponent's minions, you can deal with any threats that are there, and then continue to gain armor and go infinite.
I agree, and especially because we see the Direhorn hatchlings now, I think it's definitely safe to say, if we didn't already realize, that this is a fatigue deck. Because again, just another minion that's adding more cards to your deck itself to kind of keep you alive. I like that. I like that addition, the little hatchling into the deck. It's very clever. I'm just interested to see what he wants to have in his hand before he chooses a dead man's hand, other than, you know, another dead man's hand.
Scourge Lord Garrosh now into the hand for Jordan Lingo. That's going to be important as well to decide whether or not he wants to keep that and double it up over and over again, or if it's just one Scourge Lord is all he needs. Instead, Rod Johnson going to drop one more Sound the Bells, develop Galvadon, the last Kaleidosaur. He's got stealth and a whole lot more.
He has a lot, that's for sure. This is a lot of Sound the Bells.
Good lord. Rod, I made this joke in week 2 when I saw this deck, but Rod Johnston doing his best Quasimodo impersonation. Just ringing the bells all over the place. Not saying that Rod is an ugly human being by any stretch of the means. He's quite handsome. But he enjoys ringing bells and he enjoys punching minions. Hopefully some of that damage will start going to face. Meanwhile, Jordan Lingo, he's developed a good amount of armor. He's sitting at 18 armor right now. He's got other ways that he can deal with his opponent's minions. He can gain a lot of armor in his own right. I'm wondering if the armor really makes a difference, because Rod still has the ability to find that OTK at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I also like that he has the Spellbreaker prick up too, and he's smart for holding that, because I think based on what he's seen so far, I think he's probably safe to assume that he wants to either use it on the Galvadon, or maybe even on the Lanessa. I hear it pronounced 2 different ways, so I don't know. Whatever she is.
Good old Lynn. Well, that's, we're on those terms. We're best friends. I just call her Lynn.
We're buddies.
Good old Linny. Linny, she's gonna be buffing herself up left and right. Nice move by Rod going. She goes to the gym. Do you even lift, bro? Do you buff? Are you that buff? I go to the gym. So Scourge Lord Garrosh comes down from Jordan Lingo, so he does not want to double it up with his dead man's hands, but he does want to get rid of this Divine Shield and find ways to deal with his opponent. So he's going to be able to do some damage to these minions. He's going to be able to almost remove everything from his opponent, but now a nice, solid weapon comes into hand for Rod Johnston, which of course is the Ashbringer, Youthful Brewmaster number 2. So it seems that all that Rod is waiting for is to find that Death Knight so he can start getting that OTK in line.
Yeah, I agree. That's really the last piece of the puzzle almost at this point. And now the fun begins. What are we going to get in the box?
We got Wind Fury, Divine Shield, we got Stealth, we got +1/+1, we got Health. Hey, that rhymed.
That is a very intimidating looking Galvadon, if I do say so myself.
Very cool Galvadon. Now, it makes me wonder if at some point we might see Zola the Gorgon come out so he can double up on his Galvadonings if he felt like it. So now, while Pyromancer comes out of the hand for Rod, he's starting to empty his hand out, knowing that at some point he needs to start putting some Death Knight tokens into his hand as soon as he finds Uther of the Ebon Blade.
Yes. This is an interesting turn for Jordan as well, though. The hero power, at this point, I feel like is very lucky for him, whether he chooses to use it or not, but he also has another Warpath as well. He could start kind of clearing this board, and
this seems to be a great...
there's any sneaky way.
This could be a great brawl right here. You drop the brawl down, maybe your opponent only gets a 1/1 back, and Galvadon had no chance to do anything.
I agree. Oh, I hope we see that.
Come on.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it for the fans.
Do it. Instead, the Spellbreaker's going to come out, and then he's going to drop the brawl, so he's even going to give himself a chance to win this and completely take the board back. Let's find out which minion will survive. And it is the Spellbreaker!
It was his own.
What a fantastic move there by Jordan Lingo. So Galvadon gets nothing out of that wonderful, wonderful animation. I wonder why people think that's a bad card. And now Lanessa, good old Linny, she likes to go to the gym. She gets buff. She likes to ring bells as well. She likes to ride dinosaurs. She can't stop telling you what time it is. Currently, it is now 10 o'clock by the amount of bell rings that we have seen.
And that is the exact amount of time, or that's the exact time she left, 10 o'clock. So
when you
that execute though.
Yikes. When you hear the tone, the time is 12:25, and then it immediately dies.
Exactly. I mean, it is very hard to keep her alive. Again, why she doesn't see as much play as she should, because Linny, we're a fan. But it's just there's too many silences and removal in the meta.
And there's not a lot of ways in which you can kind of put some type of spell. You can buff a lot of your minions with Paladin, but there's not a lot of great ways to give them stealth or give them, untargetable. On top of that, they're always going to be huge minions, but they're always going to be vulnerable to removal.
Exactly.
Second weapon now in hand that's going to buff that Spellstone, and there is the Direhorn Matriarch. So a lot of good value targets here for Jordan Lingo. He's not even going to throw the Matriarch back into his hand. He's just going to really bide his time with what he wants to do with his Dead Man's Hand.
Yes, he's being very, very careful. I'm pretty sure that he is just waiting for the second dim at this point to kind of continue to keep the cycle going. It's unfortunate that it's in the bottom of his deck because he only has 8 cards left in his deck. Both players do. Oh, poor Rod. His Death Knight's at the bottom.
His Death
Feels
Knight,
like Hearthstone.
You know, in the post-game interview, Rod's going to complain about that. He's going to be sitting there just going, I could have killed him earlier, but my freaking Death Knight was in my last 2 cards, and I couldn't do anything about it, and he's just dead man's handing left and right and left and right.
But life's hard, man.
Life's hard. Life's hard when you're Rod. He was talking about how, ridiculous hat gets, every top deck he ever needs. Rod's sitting there going, of course my Death Knight is in my bottom 8. Why wouldn't it be? Instead, a lot of minion removal going to happen right now. I love that weapon for the Warrior. I love that the Death Knight is starting to see a little bit more play in a lot of different Warrior decks. It's one of the lesser represented classes, but it's got a lot of power to it.
It really does. Yeah, just being able to damage the minions adjacent, that can be very powerful. Oh, we see an elite. I didn't see a elite. This is one of my Irish plays there. She doesn't go to the gym as often as Linny, but man, does she find you some good stuff. Let me tell you.
Yeah, she's more of a hoarder than she does to go to the gym. She just finds a lot of things and packs them away.
Yeah. She's kind. She'll share with you.
She will.
She's a good woman.
And then once you get a pack in your hand, you can Dead Man's Hand and start throwing more packs into your hand as well. You got to be mindful, though, about your hand size. You don't want to clutter your hand up with too much crap before you Dead Man's Hand.
Agreed. This jungle we're going to see a battle rage here. I wonder if we're going to see it here. It might just be enough because Jordan doesn't want to, get too low with his deck. So, yeah, I'm happy to see the battle rage here. I think that was very clever. And we picked up the pack right away. Our girl, she was ready. She brought it.
Knows what she's doing. Down to 5 cards in Green Speed's deck. Meanwhile, down to 6 for Jordan or for Rod Johnson. He finally just says, "Screw it! All right, here comes my Wild Pyromancer. I'm gonna buff some things up left and right. I need to start drawing my Death Knight. That's really the only win condition he has at this point. He doesn't have any more big minions that can." He just needs to find and get his Death Knight on board and start making use of these youthful Brewmasters.
Yeah, I'm sure both players right now are starting to feel a little frustrated with the lovely RNG of Hearthstone because they're both waiting for a card that's just, just literally sitting comfortably in the bottom of their decks. So it's trying to figure out what to do until then. Still put the pressure on, but not lose their win conditions.
Yeah. So Jordan Lingo looking for his second Dead Man's Hand so he can start going infinite with his deck. And he still is managing his deck size pretty well. He seems to, you can see right away he wants to bring it on for the armor. He's got the Dead Man's Hand. He's got the Spellstone so he can start throwing the copies of the Spellstone, which I like. That's kind of an extra win condition on his side of things. Of course, Warpath is going to be able to deal 5 damage in total if he wants it to. There's a lot of ways to deal with things. The question is, do you really care about having both Bring It Ons at this point, knowing that your opponent is going for the OTK, and then... Oh, Rod. Oh, poor Rod. He never wins any brawls, does he?
I was literally just about to say that. Second brawl of this game, and his minions just don't want to live. They're like, you know what? Take us, brawl. We're done.
I feel so bad for Rod sometimes.
I do too.
He just will never win a brawl. Well, there's hope for him yet, though, is the fact that he's down to 5 cards. His opponent not putting a lot of pressure on top of him. His opponent doesn't have the ability to go infinite yet. Greenspeed could possibly, like, he's got to realize that no one's in any immediate threat right now. Just sit back, you know, knock some things out, deal some damage if you want to, but you don't need to throw the Spellstone out right now. You know your opponent is a control deck. You haven't seen any equalities. You haven't seen any consecrates. You know the board clears are there still.
Yeah, you know that's sitting in his hand, so you're not that scared. You don't feel like you need to do anything. But also, as on Rod's perspective too, you also don't really feel like you need to do much because this armor is insignificant if you're planning on winning with the OTK. So both players are just kind of like, again, it's a waiting game.
Something that's not insignificant is the fact that Bring It On has now reduced the cost of the minions in Rod's hand, so now all of these Youthful Brewmasters cost 0. So the combo potential with some of these Death Knight tokens is really interesting to me. Obviously, you're not going to be able to refresh your hero power that much, but having some free combo pieces never hurts.
No, it definitely doesn't. I'm not sure exactly how significant that will be. They only send back one of your little, hero power token guys, your little knights or whatever they are.
Yeah, you're always going to have the mana available.
Exactly. But, I mean, it's, hey, a cheaper minion, I mean, you don't get mad at that.
I'm not mad at dropping down a Direhorn Matriarch either. Does some damage. There is Uther of the Ibn Blade.
He's awake.
He's awake finally. The Light's Justice has failed. But let's not discount the fact that he's not going to be able to really throw his face into this 6/8. I mean, obviously his weapon has lifesteal, but he needs to find a better way to deal with that minion other than taking a bunch of damage from it.
He really does. Also, can we acknowledge that the last card in Jordan's deck is the Dead Man's Hand?
So finally, now we see what is going to be in there. He got a Battle Rage, which is great. He can start, drawing through his own deck. There's the big Mithril Spellstones that we were talking about a little bit earlier that are fully buffed up now. I love the move by Jordan Lingo, adding those Spellstones into a Dead Man's Hand.
Yeah, that's very nice. That is really lucky on his partial spellstone that he got. The 3/5/5s are going to be so much pressure for Rod. And then he got it immediately. So if he does decide next turn to play the spellstone, and if he can clear, but it looks like Rod's he's already using his second removal.
The big question is, does he go with Doomsayer here to kind of delay whatever his opponent wants to do? He does not, because he doesn't know about the spellstone.
This is going to be a surprise that I don't know if he's going to be happy to see.
I'm out of cards.
I mean,
let's find out.
Got no way to do it.
Will be purified.
So there's 1, 2. He's going to have a couple of pieces there, so there's 2 of the spots that he needs. He still needs 2 more turns to deal with everything that's sitting down here, but he's going to deal with 1 of his opponent's minions, gain some health, go back up to 20. So he needs 2 turns, essentially, to kind of live through all of this. If he can live through 2 turns, he can get the combo online and win. So now it's a matter of Greenspeed. Can he develop enough damage? He might just go with the last Spellstone here to generate that damage so he can finish this off in as many turns as he possibly can. And of course, you have to also think about the big damage coming from his opponent, or coming from his own. I think he's just off.
Yeah, unfortunately, using that consecration, the turn that he did to clear off 1 minion, just while that minion was scary, it wasn't help to him. But to be fair, you weren't expecting to see a bunch of 5/5s facing you down at this point. I'm sure he was Spellstone. So
yeah, you gotta think though, you had that Doomsayer in hand, you knew that you saw 1 Spellstone and a Dead Man's Hand, you knew the potential was there. I think Rod will probably look back on this and realize he should have dropped the Doomsayer just 1 turn earlier, and it would have given him a chance to win this game.
Yeah, I think that could have actually gotten him there health-wise. Maybe. I'd have to actually sit back and do the math for it. But there's no point at this point because, Jordan got that win in. His Hunter.
Way to go. Way to go, Jordan. He gets the victory.
Impressive. He played very well.
I really enjoyed that. That was a long match, but that was a heck of a match. And now we can see exactly kind of. I think both of those players are going to look back at that match and be like, well, yeah, obviously I want to draw my good cards earlier, but there was a few plays in there that both those players could go back and maybe swing the tides their way. And instead,
Right.
Rod didn't drop down the Doomsayer and didn't buy him enough time to pull off that OTK.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, again, I feel like we were also sitting here, kind of like a little upset for them as well because we're sitting at the bottom of their deck and it's quite frustrating. But why don't we just get ready? Let's see them go into
Let's keep rolling.
the next game.
Let's keep moving. Let's keep doing what we got to do. It is now 2-1. Obviously, of course, I think the overlay was not correct on the match screen. It looked like Rod was only up 1-0. He was up 2-0 at that point. So now it is 2-1, Rod Johnston. That Warrior is out of the way, but we've seen the other two decks. We have Dinomancy Hunter, and we have an aggressive Priest. Both of those things, I think the Dinomancy Hunter probably could fare somewhat decently against this Paladin if it can start getting multiple single target threats going. Obviously, it can deal with the occasional big board. It can deal with a couple of single target threats. But if you can just continuously use something like Dire Frenzy, you can get some big minions on board, you're going to be sitting pretty.
Yeah, I think Jordan's deck is definitely going to probably do fairly well in this matchup just because of how aggressive he can make it. While it's still being not too aggressive where your board just gets wiped out, like you said, you're able to make some meaty minions that can stand the board.
So it's a matter of whether or not Rod can, start buffing some minions up. We saw how easily two of his big bombs were dealt with in Galvadon and Lanessa because of the single target removal and, the loss of, what happens when you lose a brawl twice. But at the same time, Rod, he had the OTK capabilities there, but he needs to make sure that he buys himself enough time because you do need 4 turns to pull it up. It's basically like a twig of the world tree where when you break the weapon, you win the game.
Exactly. It takes some time to build up. The anticipation is there.
It is all there.
Be able to get those turns in. Always.
Always. And so no Dinomancy yet on the side of Jordan Lingo. He's got Unleash the Hounds. The Cave Hydra, of course, going to be really fun once it gets Rush from something like Houndmaster Shaw. Animal Companion going to, basically protect some minions here, which is nice. Rod's not going to be able to get full value out of this Acolyte of Pain.
Yeah, that's probably the best one that he could get other than the charge. Just again, solely to get rid of card draw for because he doesn't want him to cycle through his deck. He doesn't want him to draw his Death Knight or really any of the other big minions that he has.
But here's a good draw from Jordan Lingo. The Dinomancy comes into hand, so he's not going to be he's going to be able to transform his hero power and use it this turn.
He's been drawing that card fairly early in matchups where it seems actually better to just have it. So you're ready to go.
And you can see that he's got some consistency with it because he put 2 copies of it in his hand. Obviously, having the second copy doesn't buff the hero power further, but it does refresh it, so you can do +4/+4 onto a minion. So Rod Johnson looking down that he's got, so there's a couple of this threatening minions, and of course they're going to start getting buffed up, and the Equality Consecration, the best 2-card combo that you have as a Paladin, but you need to make sure you get just the right amount of value out of it.
Agreed. So it's really going to be like kind of like a guessing game for him is thinking when is the right time to play it. And especially in this matchup, like you're not, isn't a familiar deck, so you really don't know what to expect at all times. Like we have ideas of what's in Jordan's deck.
I got these ideas, man.
Know.
I got all these ideas.
I have thoughts.
I have thoughts and ideas. I have an idea that you might want to Dinomancy one of your minions, and you could even go Kill Command and just start putting the pressure on. Your opponent doesn't have a lot of ways to gain health besides their Death Knight weapon, which is going to gain 15 over the course of 3 turns. For a controlling deck like a Paladin, not having a great amount of heal as a resource means that your opponent can put you on the back foot real early.
Yeah, like putting him at 11 on turn 5, that seems like a feels good man.
So there's the first equality. He's going to go Equality Consecration instead of the Wild Pyromancer just because he feels like he needs at least 1 minion on his side. So there's Rod. He's going to clear off the board the first time. But, Light Fuse Stegodon, not really of much use for Jordan Lingo, but he at least can, buff it up a little bit, start generating, again, some real threatening minions.
Exactly, since you saw Rod use the weapon as well to kind of keep his health total feeling comfortable. So you probably, as Jordan, feels comfortable to start throwing down a few more minions just to start rebuilding up your board.
Scavenging Hyena is a possibility here. He could buff that if he wanted to. There's a few moves he can do with the coin here as well to do some 4/3s. You know, you can drop the Light Fuse Stegodon and the Cave Hydra. It's going to be interesting to see what line of play he wants to choose here. None of them are going to be super threatening, but they are at least going to, put the board back on your side. You can do some fun things with it.
Yeah, I agree. It's just a nice little stepping stone to start getting that board back, because that's how you're going to win. It's just continuing to put pressure on your opponent.
So a decent amount of pressure still sitting there. Turn 7 comes down. True Silver Champion, a huge pickup. Going to be able to deal with this Scavenging Hyena. That can't be understated how big that is.
Yeah, that was a really big draw for Rod. Because I feel like in this moment, if he didn't draw that, math-wise, I think he would have been 8. Yeah, I think it actually would have just been game over there.
Yeah, that would have been ball game right there.
Yeah, so that was a very lucky pickup, to say the least.
So Unleash the Hounds could possibly come out generating 2 tokens. Of course, you have Kill Command, which is going to deal some burst damage as well.
I think. Oh no, he's 1 off lethal. Feel sad, man.
He could go Explosive Trap, though. Of course, the healing of the weapon triggers before the Explosive Trap it triggers as well. I think I could be mistaken on that side of things. So instead, he's going to buff one of the minions to a 3/3. I think he starts pushing everything face here, trying to get as much damage as possible in. Hopefully, one of these beasts lives for a Kill Command to jump down as well.
Yeah, I like that. We are going to see the fastest Tyrion ever been played.
Ever.
Like, he didn't even draw first. He
No
was like,
thought
nope.
to it. He could have played a bunch of 2/2s. Screw that. No. Tyrion, here you go.
Well,
Second
as a
Dinomancy comes
Hunter
down.
player,
And instead, the Kill
They
Command
always
going to
have-
come down, and there's the ball game. So we are just 1 game away for Jordan Lingo to pull off a reverse sweep to get his first win in UHL. Steffi, I am excited.
I'm very excited too. What do we have left? Let's see. We're going to see the Priest come back. Oh. And
So-
this is not a slow Priest. This is
Nuh-uh.
a very aggressive Priest.
Yeah, this
so I'm-
priest has had a few drinks. It's a little aggressive.
This Priest hangs out with Hydra, okay?
The priest hangs out with those Bittertide Hydras. He quickly became shadow formed because of that. So we have an aggro priest up against this control paladin. I don't know what to make of this. Again, the priest has things like Bittertide Hydra. It can put some big uns on the board, but does it have enough minion pressure? Because you really do need the minion pressure to kind of whittle down a paladin to the point where even their small amount of healing it does them no good.
Yeah, I agree. They feel like they have to use their minions to trade or start using, again, the Equality Consecrate kind of early just because they're starting to feel uncomfortable with your board presence. But we already see 2 drops. We know that Jordan does seem to run a pretty good curve, so I don't know. I'm interested to see if this Priest can get there.
So the quest goes into line for Rod. Already we see the Radiant Elemental comboing with the Power Word Shield. I love the play right there. You get a decent-sized minion on board, start generating some card draw. He can then drop a Northstar Cleric or even the Shadow Ascendant to buff it further. That's a great start for the Priest.
Yeah, this is definitely a very great start for the Priest. He has a lot of pieces. Let's see, what is Rebel? He got the return again, Elixir of Hope. So he's just going right in and start putting that pressure. I like it.
Rod's saying they're going, what the hell? I'm the class that's supposed to be buffing minions. I have a quest that specifically is used for it, and instead I'm staring down a 4/7 Radiant Elemental that's now protected by a taunt. Already the pressure is just being generated by Jordan Lingo right now, and there's not a lot of answers on Rod's side.
I agree. I think he's going to have to rely on it's to kind of taunt up and keep him alive. Jordan doesn't run any type of silence or anything to kind of get around it.
Yeah.
But we're just going to see a continuation of building board presence on Jordan's end and just continuing to put pressure.
Shadow
like
Ascendant comes down, even another Radiant Elemental on top of that. I like the move there. You're forcing your opponent to basically decide what he wants to kill off right here. Doomsayer, decent enough. It's going to maybe, hold off some damage for a little bit. Sound the Bells now comes into hand. But still, plenty of damage you have. You're down to 16, staring down 6 more damage on top of that. It's turn 5, so Scalebane is going to do things, and a Bittertide Hydra if you wanted to drop it as well.
Yeah, he has options. Both seem pretty, they both are very good plays. I think I might have liked the Hydra more, knowing that Rod's going in turn 6, and you're probably going to see his speed.
Look
but
at this.
Again, you're still putting pressure. Whew.
Two minions buffing each
That's a
other
force.
left and right. 5-2s to 6-6 to 6 to 4-7s. The 4-10 taunt, though, certainly nothing to scoff at right there unless you get the Spellbreaker off the top, which he does not. So the Bittertide Hydra is now going to come down right here. His opponent sitting at 10 health. He's going to be able to punch through this 4-5. The Northshire Cleric, I like that. I like the move of the Northshire Cleric here as well. You get the sense that your opponent does not have Equality or Consecrate, and so they're not going to be able to deal with this board. So do you hold back on that one, knowing you might be able to just close the game out the next turn?
Yeah. I actually liked holding the Cleric just in case, and you can always use it as a quick resource to draw, because just gauging on the board, you see your opponent can't clear everything just yet. Second Steed coming out, he's really just trying to just maintain and stay alive at this point.
So the Northshire Cleric's going to be able to draw some cards if he wants to. Of course, the Power Word Shield can draw it before that for free, essentially, which is going to be a good move, and that's exactly what he does. He's going to draw through. Can he find the silence? There's the silence right there!
My goodness.
Right off the top, Rod. I'm so sorry the top decks don't go your way. Congratulations to Jordan Lingo. He reverse sweeps Rod Johnston for his first ever win in UHL this season. Oh my goodness.
So crazy. We were just talking about reverse sweep. Oh my goodness.
It is
Wow.
all over. Jordan gets off the schneid. He is no longer 0-4. He is now 1-5. He is 1-5.
Good for him.
Good for him.
Good for him.
Rod,
Oh my goodness.
poor Rod. He just he
Rod.
had all of the taunts light up. He had Spikeridge Steed. He had Tyrion. He had Lanessa after that. He was going to be able to put up a great wall of taunts, but the card draw was just there for Jordan. He got that Spellbreaker off the top, and he was able to get the reverse sweep and win this.
That was amazing. I am very impressed with both players, firstly, because they both played very well with the decks that they brought. Very creative, but they put the pressure on. It wasn't just like, okay, let me play a card and end my turn type of decks. Like, they really had to think these things through, and I'm very impressed. I currently messaged them, by the way, to see if any of them would be into doing a interview, and they both gave me the okay, Brasky. So
Jump us in there.
let's get them in. So I'm going to end my call over here,
Okay.
and I'm going to restart the call in our group chat. Does that work for you?
That works for me if it works for you.
Okay.
I hope
You
it
know
works
what?
for the chat as well, but I think it will.
I think they're understanding. So
All right.
give me 1 second.
Hang up on me. How dare she? She just hung up on me. Ooh, join the call. Let's find out what happens if I join this call.
Yo.
Hello. Who am I? Hello.
Lovely,
Hi,
yeah.
everybody. How's it going?
I can't even understand what happens when like RNGesus just decides that I don't deserve to like get cards when I need them. Like that entire series with that damn Paladin deck, if I would have drawn that Uther any time before the last 2 cards in my deck against that Warrior deck, I would have won. And then it was just after that, it was his aggro priest and his aggro hunter that I'm just like, I don't have any fucking chance at this point. So this is what I get for bringing Rod decks into UHL.
We were
Bad things happen.
Rod, if you go back and watch the VOD, there's a lot of times where Steffi and I, it's as if you saw a small child trying to play kickball, constantly swinging and missing the slowest type of kickball you can ever see, and then they fall down, and all of us are sitting there going, "Oh, poor Rod. We just want him. We just want him to hit it once, just once." Please.
I don't like literally. If that Uther wouldn't have been in those bottom 2 cards,
We knew you were going to say that. We're
I'm
waiting.
sitting there going, well, I have a win condition because he had everything else that happened, and then he plays the insanity that is Jordan. He plays those fucking mithril dudes, and I'm like, what is the thing that I don't expect in any of this? Which is why I wasted that fucking consecration like I did.
We did.
And
We did have
Yeah,
pro
we-
strats, though. We did point out that you could have dropped a Doomsayer and given yourself one more turn, and that would have won it for you.
probably, but
Oh.
that's what I get for being Rod. And
That match though, fellas, the Warrior match versus the Paladin, like both of your essential like key cards were literally like that last card or the second to last card. Like that was insane. We were both sitting here like, these poor guys, man, they're just reaching and it's not showing up to the party.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan, talk a little bit about that epic Warrior Paladin match. The fact that you were waiting for that second Dead Man's Hand, and it literally was the last card in
The
your
last
deck.
card.
Yeah, I was the whole time I was thinking there was going to be another Togwaggle. So I was like, oh crap, I don't want him to take my dead man's hand. But then I saw the Brewmaster come down. I was like, oh, he's got the OTK. I might not win. So
is that the specific reason you went with dropping those? I mean, we saw the Spellstones and going, he's only got 2 weapons, but he's running the Spellstone. Was that the specific reason, just to give you a little bit more gas in the late game when you started going infinite?
Well, with Garrosh, you actually have 3 weapons in that deck. But with that, I figured if he had managed to bounce 1 more, it was over. And then I also was thinking, oh crap, I played Bring It On, so I don't know if the other stuff that he needs has been reduced, which he can then get it off even earlier. But yeah, that I just realized I had to push damage or I was going to lose with that OTK.
Yeah, Rod, you went with 2 really solid decks between the Shutterwalk Shaman and the Togwag. Basically, you went full combo with this entire lineup, and it was entertaining as hell to watch. The fact that you pulled it off with the Druid and the Shaman. There were so many opportunities with that Paladin, but it just didn't work out for you.
Yeah.
He had answers every time he needed them. That my Galvadon didn't get to do anything. He had Lanessa, he had answers. He won 2 brawls in that game.
That's a big. I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
You guys can go back and watch every single game I've had this season, except the one for Red Knight. There have been points where I should have won, like statistically, and it fucking hasn't happened. Like, I lost to Illyri last week on a 1-in-6 rag shot after coming back from down 0-2. I don't understand what I've done to piss someone off, but I have pissed someone off in the realms of luck, man. I just don't understand. I don't understand how it happens. I don't understand, guys. I don't understand. Anyways, it didn't matter. This whole series between Jordan and I didn't matter. I just wanted to have fun and mess around with decks and have a good time. I had my opportunity with that warrior deck, and I was like, oh, okay, this is good. And then I'm sitting there, and like my last 5 cards are like 2 loot hoarders, 2 acolytes of pain, and I'm just like, I had pandas sitting in my hand the entire friggin' game. I'm like, what is happening? I don't understand how I can be this unlucky constantly.
This is what we're gonna have you do, okay? Next time you play, I need you to burn some sage. Okay,
Yep.
that's the first thing I do. You get some Nag Champa and start lighting that up and just kind of feel the spirits coming back to you as you start to really get good luck going your way. Because right now, you just got bad energy, man. You got some bad chi.
I do. I am a walking, talking motherfucker who's walked under a ladder and thrown salt over. I don't know, all the shit that you're not supposed to do to have bad luck. I guess I've done because
I will say the second that that first brawl came out, and this is very true, the second that first brawl came out, Rod, my black cat walked by me. And then immediately you lost that brawl. So I'm gonna take responsibility for that first one. But Jordan, you
second one?
Yeah, and the second one was just bad luck. That's fine. Yeah. Jordan, you had the tenacity to bring Dinomancy Hunter with some Dire Frenzies and a few other things as well. We saw some of the combo pieces that can be there when you have Houndmaster Shaw and a Cave Hydra that's buffed up with it. There's some cool things there. Talk a little bit about that deck.
Yeah, so that was last week, and actually in one of the Discords I saw somebody posted that a player had gotten to High Legend with a Dinomancy Spell Hunter. I was like, oh crap, the secret's out, because literally no one has used Dinomancy ever.
No, Cinder Ascendant made it his goal at one point playing this game to make Dinomancy Hunter work, and yeah, I think you just had more luck with it than anyone else ever has.
I will say, yes, I drew very well this series. Everything that I needed was there on time. So that is a big factor.
Dude, those last 2 games, you ran me the fuck over and I had no chance. Like, it was like, he was like, oh, I don't have to worry about anything. I'm going to hit him in the face like a Mack truck. And guess what? My face got hit by a Mack truck.
That it did. Also got hit by a Mack truck of an aggro priest.
Aggro priest?
I know, a Hydra and priest. I was literally like, what?
Well, yeah, and so that deck, I was like, I wonder if I can make Shadow Form work. And last week, that it was like put together. But then like Ridiculous Hat played the Combo Priest, and I saw other people starting to bring that to like DreamHack. I was like, oh crap, like everything that I'm coming up with, people are starting to use. But thankfully, you weren't expecting that, I hope.
No. But you can't go into a match with you expecting anything, Jordan.
True.
That's the problem with the whole situation.
Last week when you said to expect craziness, I was like, all right, Togwaggle is Rod's,
I tried to bring Togwaggle to all 3 decks, and he wasn't doing anything in that Paladin deck, which was why I brought him out. He was in that Paladin deck. And the Shaman, I had this goal of bringing a 30 legendary deck, and I just couldn't get something that flowed like,
that would have been cool.
Curve-wise, or I would have. And I'm just like, I wanted to have fun, and that freaking Paladin deck, I had one shot to do it, and it just didn't work. So.
Sorry, man. It happens. If it makes you feel any better, the decks that I brought do terribly on ladder.
This is not helping me any at all right now.
Nothing's gonna make him feel better.
That's true.
Steffi, what question you got?
Look, I love casting, specifically in UHL, because you never know what you're gonna see. And so I really don't have a question, but more of a statement to kudos to both of you guys for being really creative and like bringing decks that actually can perform. Like I was kind of saying this, I was like, these aren't like your typical decks that you see often, with the exception of the Shaman. I would say that's a little bit more like, a top tier deck. But you guys do a really good job of adding like your own little creative touches and kind of spin off to things to make it really fun to kind of watch and cast. Like it's not like vanilla Hearthstone, where you're just seeing the same freaking crap that we have to deal with on ladder all the time. So really, it's just kind of like kudos and thank you to you guys for creativity.
Togwaggle has been a mascot of tier 5 since before he got, like, when he got unveiled. And I was like, I have to bring him. And I brought him last season against Chris. And so I just love Togwaggle when he works. And he is a fun card. And against, like, that deck can do well, but it also suffers at times because it's so damn slow and you have to be in so many right circumstances. So the problem with it too is, like, if you don't get that damn twig until the end, like happened to me that first game, I'm just like, you just sitting there and go, well, I have combo pieces. Now it's going to take me 5 turns to get there because you have to get down the whole thing. But so Jordan plays fun decks, and I was like, I was 1-4 and he was 0-5. I was like, I have to bring fun shit. Neither one of us are going to the playoffs. It doesn't matter at this point. So
it was fun. And remember, kids, Temporis is really bad.
Yeah.
That's what Brasky's.
Yeah.
I messaged Jordan after that game, and I'm like, I gained like 80 armor that turn because I don't know what the fuck this dude's bringing. He's gonna like hit a 900 OTK combo because he's Jordan. I'm like, what the hell is happening now? So
we were watching that same thing, just being like, any other deck or any other class, Temporis would have worked there. It would have been insane. Yeah. But when your opponent has upwards of 60 health, it's gonna be a hard OTK.
The only thing I could count on was top decking Velen, and even then, I don't even know. That it would have been close, but
it would have been closer.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, you would have won with Velen, I think, because you also pulled, I think, what it looks like you had pulled 2 Shadow Visions into 2 more Mind Blasts.
Yeah,
I'm like,
4.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm so glad I gained armor. I messaged you the game. I was like, holy shit, I'm glad I gained armor. Oh.
Yeah, that's the best drawing luck that I've had in a long time. So I'm sorry that it had to happen to you, Rob.
No, it's okay.
God,
it's what happens.
Had you gotten Valen, it would have been Rod would not have existed anymore. It would have just been a cloud of dust because he would have spontaneously combusted after losing to Temporis OTK on that spine.
Yeah, that would have been...
Thanos would have clapped or snapped his fingers, and I would have been busted away. Oh.
My goodness.
Good games, man. I enjoyed that. And
yeah, it was fun, man. I hate. This is what's happened to me all season too. I've had one deck that just comes in and shits the bed on me, and I'm just like, no.
Same.
But I literally don't want to lose, but I was like, this is the whole thing. I'm more about like trying to have a good match and have fun matches. And I think that pulled off besides those last 2 runovers, but yeah, it was.
Well, knowing that we're going into the final cycle of this with the fact that you have one more kind of group of 3 weeks, both of you probably not.
Just one more game.
That was one more game. That's right. My bad. I'm talking off. I'm looking at myself, going, wait, how many weeks in this season? So you
counting
guys,
is hard.
You know,
Brain
not
dead.
yeah. I trust me. We talked about this earlier. I don't do math. That's Steffi's job.
Yeah, that's fine,
But going into one more week, both of y'all are out of the playoffs. Are you strictly going to go for the memes, or are you going to try to play spoiler to your opponents next week?
I play Andrew, who's a tryhard who's already in the playoffs. So I don't know what the flying hell I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna bring my own decks, that's for sure. I learned my lesson this week with that, but I don't know.
I'm gonna bring the 3 best meta decks.
No, you're
Just-
not. You liar. Liar.
Just to throw everyone off.
Yeah, that's what I'd be like. Do we have the right portrait? Is this Jordan Lingo? Are we sure this is not? Is this Hat? No, that can't be. No, he's playing meta decks. What is going on here? So we'll wrap it up with that. But before we leave you guys, Jordan, let's start with you first. Where can people find you on the internet and the awesome content that you produce?
You can find me on The Daring Reporter, which is a podcast that reports about other Hearthstone podcasts. You can reach that at TDR_podcast. I'm Jordan at Jordan_lingo on Twitter. And you can find me in a lot of the Hearthstone Discords.
Awesome. And Rod, how about you?
You could find me in the hells of RNG somewhere. I'm on Twitter at Rod_Johnston, Twitch at twitch.tv/Rod_Johnston, and Tier 5, the Hearthstone podcast is out on Tuesdays, so go check that out.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for a super entertaining match. It went the full 5, and it was nothing short of bad luck and wonderful timing. It was fantastic. Thank you both.
Yes.
See ya.
Thanks for casting.
All right, Steffi, I'll see you back in the other call.
Oh, you know it.
Peace.
See you, everybody.
Bye.
So we'll get everyone back in here. We're going to try and see if Steffi is still around somewhere. I'm going to get out of this little lineup here. Boom. I'm going to join this call. Where are you at? You still there?
I'm still here. Are
Yay!
you still here?
I am. Look at this. Hey, we're back on the screen. Well, I said earlier, I asked people in the chat, are you not entertained? Well, I think we were.
I think everybody was. How could you not be entertained after that? It went to the best of 5. Like, it went full force. That was beautiful.
It was absolutely beautiful. And it's the beautiful thing about UHL is that you're always going to have some fun times. It's going to be great competition. It's going to be fun decks to play left and right. And so we hope that you join us again. Of course, this is week 6. We have one more week left, week number 7, which is all important where you can, there's still some few playoff spots to be decided. There's, obviously Jordan and Rod, they aren't going to be going to the playoffs anytime soon, but they're still going to bring some entertaining decks. And there's plenty of reasons to watch all the streams next week.
Oh, I agree. You're always ready for a good time watching any of the UHL matches. So thank you again for those who've been, sticking with us, who've been tuning in all week. Your support does not go unnoticed, and we always love having you around.
I totally agree. And so that's going to do it for us here as the last match of week number 6. Steffi, where can people find you on the internet and the awesome content that you make?
Well, you can find me on Twitter. My handle is at Steffi with 3s at the end. Also find me on Twitch as well with the same handle. I'm going to be starting up streaming full-time over the summer, so look forward to that. Brasky and I also are a part of a really, really, really great upcoming esports team called Swagoi. So you can go to swagoi.com to kind of learn all about us and our teammates there. Brasky, where can the people find you? And I'm sure you have more stuff to add on about the Swagoi because, you're perfect. to know
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at Brasky1142. You can find me at Twitch at twitch.tv/Brasky1142. Of course, as Steffi mentioned, we're both part of Swagoi Gaming, which, of course, the mission of Swagoi is to help amateurs take their next steps into the professional realm, be that, playing, casting, content creation, whatever that might be. So you can join the Swagoi Gaming community by finding us at swagoi.com or search Swagoi Gaming. That's SWAGOI on Facebook. You can find out all about our organization and the different ways in which you can get involved. And we've gotten involved plenty in some great, crazy matches here today in UHL. That is the last stream of week number 6. We hope that you have a wonderful Saturday, a wonderful Sunday as well. Let's get ready for week number 7. Everyone have a great rest of your night.
Bye, everyone.